In the previous lesson, we learned how to declare variables, then change the value of the variable once it's been declared. But unfortunately, the variables that we know how to declare are limited to integers or whole numbers. In this video, we'll be going into gaining insight into all the different types of variables that C++ supports. But before I begin, I'd just like to quickly give mention to a concept to do with printing that I neglected to mention in the printing tutorial. That is, that you can print multiple things in one go. To do this, we could just use two print statements, where one does not use the endl keyword, but a much better way of achieving this is using the multiple insertion operators. Keep in mind that these are exactly the same as the output stream operators. For example, if I wanted to print out this is an example sentence using the multiple insertion operators, I would say cout followed by output stream operators, then this is an example followed by multiple insertion operators, followed by sentence, then output stream operators, then the keyword endl. Remember that there is no limit to the number of things that we can join using this method. So to begin with, we need to understand the limitation of ints or integers. Firstly, if we declared an int named a, then on the same line we set a to be equal to a value like 32. Then if we were to print out the value of a by saying cout, then output stream operator, then the value of a is, then a multiple insertion operators, then the keyword a, then output stream operators, then the keyword endl, when we run the program, we'll see that it prints out the value of a is 32, as expected, because we simply join the sentence, the value of a is, with the current value of a. But here is the key problem with integers. If I change the value from being 32 to a decimal value, like 12.1, when we run the program, we'll see that the program says that the value is 12. Well, this is clearly wrong, as we said to be 12.1, not 12. The reason that this occurs is that the data type int cannot handle decimals, and if it does encounter a decimal, then it will round down to the nearest whole number. For example, if we changed it to be equal to 8.9, then when we run the program, it would print out 8. Luckily for us, there are many data types in C++ that support decimals. The major types that do are floating point numbers and doubles. The way to define a float is exactly the same as with an integer. The only difference is that instead of using the int keyword, we must use the float keyword. So if I were to create a floating point variable by saying float b equals 14.3, then I printed it using the statement cout followed by output stream operators, then the value of b is, then multiple insertion operators, then the variable name b, then output stream operators, and then the keyword endl, then when we run the program, we can see that it will use the decimal values that we set when we declare the variable b. Doubles and floats are very similar. In fact, they both support decimals, but doubles are defined using the keyword double and have twice the decimal accuracy as a float, hence the name double. This means that they can support more decimal digits than a float. So if I were to declare a double by saying double C equals 33.19264999474 semicolon, then when I printed the value of the variable C by saying cout followed by output stream operators, then the value of C is multiple insertion operators C, output stream operators, then the keyword endl, then it would print out the value that we set for C. But did you know that there are many data types in C++ that are not numbers? One of those is the char data type. This means any Unicode character, for example A, S, D, F, or any other letter for that matter. But for chars, we must set them slightly differently to ints, floats, or doubles. To define a char, we start with the keyword char, followed by the name of the variable. For this I'll use D, but when setting the variable, we must surround the value by single quotes. For this example, I'll set the variable d to have a value of z. Now if I print out by using cout, then the output stream operators, then the value of d is, then more output stream operators, then the letter d, then output stream operators, and endl, then when we run the program, we can see that the console printed out the letter z as expected. But you're not limited to single characters in C++ variables. So the type of variable that supports multiple characters is the string variable. The string variable is useful for storing words, sentences, or even paragraphs of text. So to define a string, we must start with the keyword string, then the name of the variable that we want to declare. For this example, I'll use E. Now we can set the value by using an equals sign and then the text that we want to store surrounded by double quotes. For this example, I'll store the words penguin design. Now, if we want to print out the value of E, we can just use the same method as we did with the other variables. So cout, the value of E is E. And when we want to run the program, we see that it prints the value of E just as we set it. Finally, there is one more data type that we should learn. And although we will not really be using it for the next few tutorials, it'll be very useful for the more complex programming that we'll do in the future. This data type is the Boolean. This will store one of two values, true or false. So to define a Boolean, we must use the keyword bool, then the name that we want to use for the variable. For this example, I'll use f. Then we can use the equal sign, followed by either the keyword true or false. This will set the value accordingly. But when we print it using cout, the value of f is f. And when we run it, we'll see that it will print either 0 or 1. This is because for C++, true means 1 and false means 0. But we'll go into more detail on that in a later tutorial. So let's just go over why this program works one last time. This time I will not go over the lines like pound include iostream, as we already know what they mean from the previous few tutorials. So to begin with, we declared an int a and set it to 32, which stored the value of 32 inside a whole number variable named a. Then we said float b equals 14.3. This created a variable named b, which can store numbers with decimals. Then we said double C equals 33.1926499474, which did the same as with float b, but the variable can store twice as many decimal places. Then we said char d equals, in single quotes, z, which created a variable named d, but that variable can only hold one letter or symbol. Then we stated string e equals, in double quotes, penguin design, which created a string variable, meaning it can store a whole lot of chars put together. Finally, we said bool f equals true, which created a variable that stores either true or false named f. Then in the next few lines, we simply printed out the values that were stored in each variable. So, congratulations! You've made a program that implements many different types of variables. Because it can be sometimes difficult to remember the names of each data type and what they do, I've made a short cheat sheet in the description, so feel free to reference it if you have any trouble remembering something. In the next lesson, we'll be learning about a very exciting topic that opens many doors for our programming ability. That topic is input. But more on that next time, so let's begin.